Folks, I think you'll like this. Politifact. I think Politifact and Snopes, and they've been fact checked many times themselves, but they're like two. I've noticed Politifact and Snopes are two websites that the underemployed Democrats online who are looking for quick Google answers. I'm a Google expert and I became an expert on this topic in the last 45 seconds. And then they start spamming links. Politifact and Snopes are two of the crazier websites that the Democrats will hide behind. And I've fact-checked them both a few times. One thing off the top of my head real quick. With Snopes, at one time they said, there's a kernel of truth to the statement that Democrat cities tend to be much more violent than cities and counties dominated by Republicans. A kernel of truth, I think, is what they said to it about it. And I'm like, that is the biggest load of horse you-know-what I've ever heard. There's not a kernel of truth to it. It's a shepherd's pie, like a 50-pound shepherd's pie that would feed a couple hundred people. So, but here Dave Rubin calls out Politifact. I think Politifact, it's never been about the truth. It's just about getting the message out and just, kind of these people who have a lot of free time. They just try to overwhelm everybody with their free time, and they just put so much crap out. It's like I've described some Democrats on YouTube as like a toilet running in reverse constantly, and let's see you scoop up all that poopy. We just put 500 pounds of poopy on the floor. See if you can scoop that up. Yeah. So anyway, Dave Rubin nailed Politifact. I think they've become so angry, and their conscience is seared to the point where they just don't care about truth, and they're just going to crank out whatever they can crank out. I also find it funny they put, we got fact on the title of our website, so we're a fact checker. That people do that. I'm getting so tired of that. They think, I got fact in there. I just did put something up that said fact check on it, and it must be right. No, it's not right. You just have a lot of free time, and you're an idiot. So Dave Rubin nailed Politifact. And see for yourself here. Politifact, they're full of crap. And Snopes, you're probably not too far behind. I should add this real quick, too. The reason Politifact does this, too, is they know their autistics aren't going to read it. It's like the Trump very fine people comment that they still say. Trump was saying Nazis are very fine people. And another one I've seen, there's people that literally believe Obama had a good economy and his economy was better than Trump's, which it wasn't. If you look at labor force participation rates, unemployed claims per 100,000, non-farm jobs, black labor force participation rate, men 25 to 54, they still believe that crap because some of the autistics over at Politifact and supposed, experts and like that will say it, and by golly, when they say something, it's true. So I think Politifact doesn't believe they're going to actually read what they said. They just give their headline readers. So another thing, might as well mention this real quick too. I've done it a million times before. When someone says the most violent cities in America or violent jurisdictions are full of black on black homicide, and they vote Democrat, there's people that still don't know that. They're clueless. They think it's like white people in Mississippi. When a white guy in Las Vegas opens fire from a balcony and kills people indiscriminately, they think that's like, oh my gosh, attacks like that are like half all the homicides. No, they're a sliver of them. So sorry to go on that rant, but just to give you some background on it, I don't think that the autistics that read Politifact on a regular basis are going to they go no further than the headline. And that's why they do that. They're going to believe whatever they tell them, probably. These people aren't very bright.
Korea thinking she's in North Korea. Like all of these things, they start adding up over time. And then, of course, there was this one from a couple days ago. Obviously, we had Hurricane Ian here in Florida, and the devastation is still being cleaned up all over Southwest Florida right now. Kamala Harris went for an interview on C-SPAN, and she came out, in essence, I mean, she already was, but she went full racist and full communist. Here is the unedited video. Unedited? Can I say it's unedited? This is the unedited video.
Can you talk just a little bit about the relief efforts, obviously, of Hurricane Ian and what the administration has been doing to address the climate crisis in the States?
It is our lowest income communities and our communities of color that are most impacted by these extreme conditions and impacted by issues that are not of their own making.
And so women.
Absolutely. And so we have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. And if we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we have to take into account those disparities.
Okay, so I know I played this one for you yesterday, but the brouhaha around it is really what I want to address today. But very quickly first, what she said there at the end, let's do the communist part first. She wants everyone to end up in the same place. That is not congruent with the American dream. What the American dream says is, hey, we've got equality. And some people start with more, some people start with less. Some people have great gifts, some people don't. Some people come from great families, some people come from broken families. There's the gestalt of life that is just out there. And if we have equal laws for everyone, it might be harder for some people and easier for some, but plenty of people are born rich and end up poor, and plenty of people are born poor and end up rich. It's the chance. You got a chance, man, in the United States. That's what it's all about. The idea that you'd want all people to end up in the same place, no, you wouldn't want all people to end up in the same place. That is what communism is, that we would all have the same thing. Now, of course, what she really means by that, she doesn't really mean it, right? She doesn't really mean we'll all end up in the same place. She means her and her crew of elites, they'll have a lot more, but you peons will all end up just satiated enough that you'll all have the exact same thing. So it's a communist argument that she is making. By the way, she was making that argument before she was vice president, so at least she's being consistent in her interest in communism. As far as the racist part, if you are going to give government aid by the basis of someone's skin color, she says you would want equity when it comes to communities of color. Well, if you're going to say, oh, there's a trailer park of people and their houses got blown away, and here's another trailer park of people and their houses got blown away, this community has more black people, this community has more white people, we're going to give more resources here because of historic injustice or something, then that is a racist policy. That is against the Constitution of the United States. So I would actually welcome her to try to do it. Of course, she won't try to do it because the FEMA head already had to rebuke her and say, no, we actually give aid based on whoever needs it. It's as simple as that. But now here's why I'm reiterating this whole point and bringing it up, because we did discuss it yesterday. If you want to see how the media and the political elite lie about everything and how they launder their lies through the system, this is absolutely perfect. So here's a tweet by Andrew Bates. Now, Andrew Bates is the deputy press secretary to the White House. I think he works right under Karine Jean-Pierre. She's the press secretary. He's the deputy press secretary. So he quotes Politifact and the New York Times and Reuters, all claiming that she did not say what we just heard her say, that it had something to do with race. Politifact, no, Kamala Harris didn't say hurricane relief would be based on skin color. Actually, she did. We just played you guys the video. I should illustrate, by the way, or I should just make a point of saying, when I told you that video wasn't edited, we just cut from the question immediately to the answer. So there was an edit there, but we didn't edit it for content in any way. You heard her ask about Hurricane Ian relief, and then you heard the answer to it. So first, go back to the tweet there for a second. He quotes Politifact. So Politifact is a website that lies. They claim to be a fact-checking site, but they lie because she did say it would be based on skin color. She said communities of color. Then he quotes the New York Times. Conservatives distort Harris's remarks about hurricane relief. So it's, you see those conservatives, they pounced, those mean conservatives. Nobody distorted it. She's the one that said equity should be built in, and she's the one who brought up skin color. Go back to it one more time. Then Reuters deliberately distorted. We played it for you straight up. You know what? Let's play it straight up one more time.
Can you talk just a little bit about the relief efforts, obviously, of Hurricane Ian and what the administration has been doing to address the climate crisis in the States?
It is our lowest income communities and our communities of color that are most impacted by these extreme conditions and impacted by issues that are not of their own making. And so
women.
Absolutely. And so we have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. And if we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we have to take into account those disparities.
God, it's worse every time you hear it. Yeah, not everyone does start in the same place, but it doesn't mean everyone should end up in the same place. She's anti-American. She doesn't understand the American dream. I believe her to be racist, and okay, is what it is. So I showed you the deputy press secretary for the White House using mainstream media sources, New York Times, Politifact, and Reuters, to lie, right? And then a whole bunch of people, myself included, we just tweet the video at him, and then they don't delete anything, they don't respond. Like, they don't mind the lies because they know that they're part of the machine. So a day or two goes by and everyone forgets. VP Kamala Harris's comms person, Kirsten Allen is her name, she tweeted this. Scott, Harris claimed, said, if you have a different skin color, you're going to get relief faster after Hurricane Ian. Harris said no such thing. We rate this claim as false. This is Politifact talking about the exact same thing. They were referencing, the Scott that they're referencing there is Rick Scott, who loosely quoted what Kamala Harris said. So you guys get it. They lie and they lie and they lie. They're allowed to share misinformation. That is those are government officials sharing misinformation despite video that just makes it so obvious what the truth is. And this, actually, when you understand that they're anti-American and that they have racist ideas and that they don't mind lying and they have the whole machinery behind them, this is also directly linked to why they want to make sure the rest of us are censored. Because in the old days, if you own the entire cultural apparatus and the political machinery and all of it, you could just lie and we didn't have ways to debunk the lies in real time, right? But now what happens on Twitter when these people lie, I mean, both of those tweets, one from a deputy White House press secretary and one from the comms girl for the VP, they get ratioed to high hell because tons of people share the video, say, no, you're lying. As I said, they don't delete it. They don't acknowledge that they're doing it, that they're lying in the first place. So what that does lead to is that's why big tech must censor us. That's because they know that too many people can see the truth. So whether it's suppressing certain things or banning certain people or making it so that one side can't share misinformation, but one side can, you guys get it. So that's why there is such a toxic stew here. It's also why I always say you have to give the devil his due, because whether it's starting a freaking nuclear war a week before the midterms, or just lying about all of these things, or bringing back COVID or whatever, it's like we gotta, don't feel so great right now. Yes, it does look, and by any sane logic, there will be a red wave. But don't get overconfident, man, because these people will pull out every trick in the book and they will claim that you are the ones doing it while they do it right in front of your face. But the point of all of this is that her equity comments are reflective of what Democrats think of minorities. They think that minorities are helpless, and they think that minorities, whether it's a sexual minority, whether it is a skin color minority, whatever it might be, they need you in that box. They got nothing else. So they will pander to high hell to keep you in your box and keep you really so that you're not a person. What they fear is the individual more than anything else. And unfortunately for them, the individual is the root of our free Western society. So they use this racial division, this negativity, basically as a battering ram to advance their agenda, which of course is government control over everything.
And really, I'm wrapping this up, folks, now. Wanted to add this in response to the overweight Commie Harris. The reason why Asians, and in my homicide essays, my essays on violent crime, I've gone over this millions of times. The reason why do Asians get arrested for homicide and violent crime at a much, much, much lower rate, much lower than their percentage of the population than young black men, or black men in general? Why is that? Is it because black men are starting at the bottom? And why are black men starting at the bottom? Is it because maybe a whole bunch of them never had a daddy? And if you don't have a daddy, even Obongo admitted this. Even Obongo admitted that a child growing up without a father, and a lot of them are black, you're less likely to finish school, which means you're more likely to get into drugs or commit crime. Death row, don't get mad. This is just fact. Death row is full of fatherless children who didn't finish high school. So when she talks about them starting at the bottom, I think if blacks had a family unit like they did back in the 40s and 50s and continued that after the Civil Rights Act, because in the 40s and 50s, blacks made huge economic gains. There was still a long ways to go, but they'd made huge economic strides. Well, then the welfare state and the Great Society comes along, and now black women are marrying the government, and there's no daddy. And quickly, when I looked over, why are Asian kids, I did this in a video, why are Asian kids in California performing so much better in schools than blacks and Hispanics? Especially the gap between Asians and blacks and Hispanics in California, it's huge. And part of the reason is Asian children are more likely to go home and both parents are there and both parents at least finished high school or have a degree or higher, a bachelor's degree or higher. Now, the black and Hispanic kids, unfortunately, are far more likely to come home to one parent because daddy's not around or never was. And it's highly likely that that parent didn't even finish high school. So it's a culture thing. You're not starting at the bottom. If you guys hadn't destroyed the family unit with the welfare state, maybe black children wouldn't be starting from the bottom. So that's just a little response there to the overweight Commie Harris. She's always stirring the pot of that. Maybe the only brilliant thing George W. Bush ever said, one of the few brilliant things he said, the soft bigotry of low expectations. And that can describe the Democrat attitude toward blacks and Hispanics. And I think there's a lot of Hispanics who maybe don't have a great education, but they live in West Texas and they're working in the oil fields and they're making good money. And they see this horde of people coming over the southern border that the Democrats are going to replace them with. So there you go. Have a nice day, folks.